All right. Today's Zoom session is being brought to you by the Fractal Recursive 12 Star. All right. Oops. All right. We're going to go over, here's chapter section 2.1 about graphing. So, Navidad, a question.
Because we're starting chapter 2 today, does that mean that all of chapter 1's homework is due today?
Not today, next week.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, so name points. Okay, fine. Now, the idea of Cartesian coordinates is to extend the match between numbers and points to 2 dimensions. A line, the number line, you associate a number with any point on the line. But here for points in the plane, we associate pairs of numbers. The way you do this is you first draw 2 perpendicular lines. The horizontal line, we'll call it the x-axis. The vertical line, called the y-axis. And for any point in the plane, you draw this rectangle. You draw perpendiculars to each axis, and you get a rectangle. And since this rectangle, these 2 sides are equal, and these 2 sides are equal. So x is how far left or right the point is, y is how far up or down is, and the coordinates of the point are x by y. So point of the plane corresponds to an ordered numbered pair. It's ordered because it matters. X by y is usually not the same thing as y by x. So for example, 2 by 1, this is over 2 and up 1. This is here, this point is back 2 and up 1, so it's negative 2 by 1. This point here is back 2 and down 1, so it's at negative 2 by negative 1. This point is over 2 and down 1, it's at 2 by negative 1. The points on the x-axis all have y coordinate 0, because it's neither up nor down. This is 2 units back, so it's at negative 2 by 0. Here's negative 1 by 0. Here's 1 by 0 and 2 by 0. Here's 0 by 0. It's at the center. It's called the origin point. This is a point, these points on the y-axis all have x value 0. And so this is 1 up. It's at 0 by 1. This is at 1 down, 0 by negative 1. Well, if y equals constants correspond to horizontal lines. So this horizontal line corresponds to the equation y equals 1. The x-axis corresponds to y equals 0. 1 unit down is the point, is the line y equals negative 1. X equals constant corresponds to vertical lines. So a vertical line for x equals 1 here. The y-axis is for the points where x equals 0. We have a point, a line for horizontal vertical line through these points corresponds to x equals negative 2. There are what are called quadrants corresponding to each 4 quarters of the plane that these 2 lines divided into. Every point in this one quadrant 1, has coordinates plus by plus. Here in quadrant 2, Roman numeral 2, it's to the left and up, so it's has coordinates minus by plus. Here in quadrant 3, it's left and down, so it's at coordinates minus by minus. And dear, I think I better rewrite this one to change a thing. Quadrant 4, Roman numeral 4, it's over and down, so it's at plus by minus. Let's see, I'm making 2, 1, page 2, plus by minus. That needs a little bit of change in the. Right. Now, with some formulas. So if we're going to correspond points and numbers, we need to do a few geometric connections. For example, given 2 points in the plane, what are the coordinates of the midpoint? So this is at coordinates x1 by y1. This is at point 2 is at coordinates x2 by y2. M is at what by what? Well, in a way, you can think of a midpoint as an average of the 2 points. If you project down onto the x-axis, this will project down right in the middle between where this projects and this projects, x1 and x2, and halfway between is their average, x1 plus x2 over 2. If you project down to the y-axis, this one is at height y1, this is at height y2, and this one will be at average height, y1 plus y2 over 2. So, okay, midpoint has average of the coordinates. So, for example, Here we have some points here on a plane. What are the coordinates of A, C, E, and G? Well, A is over 2 and up 4, so it's at 2 by 4. C is back 2.5, down 1.5, so it's at negative 2.5 by negative 1.5. E is on the x-axis over 3, so it's at 3 by 0. And G is the origin point, 0 by 0. Okay, here we have a couple of midpoint problems. Negative 2 by negative 8 and 3 by negative 8, what's the midpoint? Well, x coordinate is average of negative 2 and 3, negative 2 plus 3 over 2, which is a half. Y coordinate is the average of negative 8 and negative 8. The sum over 2 is negative 8, so midpoint is a half by negative 8. All right, here is the midpoint between 7 by 1 and negative 10 by 4. Okay, we take, for the x coordinate, we average 7 and negative 10. 7 plus negative 10 over 2, which is negative 3 halves. For the y coordinate, we average 1 and 4. 1 plus 4 over 2, which is 5 halves. So the midpoint is negative 3 halves by 5 halves. Now here, it's a kind of a reverse problem. Instead of given 2 endpoints, find the midpoint, here we have an endpoint and the midpoint, find the other point. So we have to kind of run this backwards in some sense. And it means in practice we'll have to do some algebra instead of just putting it into a formula and turning the crank. So negative 2, for example, is the average between negative 8 and x. So this is at x by y. We don't know what they are. So x plus negative 8 over 2 is negative 2. Here, the y coordinate and 5 averages to 3. Y plus 5 over 2 equals 3. All right, so here we go. We solve it. In each case, we multiply by 2 to transpose the 2. This becomes x minus 8 equals negative 4. This becomes y plus 5 equals 6. For this one, we add 8 to both sides and get x equals 8 plus negative 4, which is x is 4. Here we subtract 5 from both sides and get y equals 6 minus 5. That's 1. So this other endpoint is at 4 by 1. Same deal here. We have a 1.6 by negative 3. We have a midpoint negative 7 by negative 3. And we have the other point unknown. Unknown x by unknown y. Well, okay. X plus 6 over 2 is negative 7 here and here. Y plus negative 3 over 2 is negative 3. X plus 6 over 2 equals negative 7. We double both sides. Get x plus 6 equals negative 14. Subtract 6 from both sides and get x equals negative 20. Y minus 3 over 2 is negative 3. Multiply both sides by 2. So y minus 3 is negative 6. Add 3 to both sides. Y is negative 3. So the other endpoint is negative 20 by negative 3. Okay. That concludes this section.